Welcome back to the Integrate Intelligently podcast. I'm here with Scott Brickler, founder and CEO of CADTALK. Again, I am Jeff Brickler, CRO here at CADTALK. And so, Scott, today, we're talking first a series of episodes about AI. Of course, it's all the rage now. Everybody's talking about AI, the AI revolution. Every podcast that I listen to talks about how, it's either utopia or dystopia. I hear both. I hear both scenarios, right? Either AI is going to turn us into everlasting living creatures that never die, or it's going to ruin us tomorrow. So it's one of the two extremes. There's never any sort of practical applications. At least that's what I listen to from an AI perspective. But today, I really around use cases for AI. For companies like ourselves or even manufacturing and engineering companies about how to use AI in your everyday job, practical use cases where we see it, and then where you can take it from there. So, today's episode really kind of laid the foundation around where did AI come from, what the topic was, why does it feel like all of a sudden?
Oh, yeah, I think that it's not really, it's like a lot of things. A lot of technologies exist on kind of an exponential curve, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever look at an exponential curve of adoption of things, like you have that kind of, it's like nothing, boom, right? It's an exponential curve, right? And then that
so-called J curve.
Yeah, that curve is like, almost like a reverse L almost, but yeah, that kind of thing. But it's just kind of like nothing, and all of a sudden, and that inflection point, I guess your J, we were talking about that in J there.
Curve, yeah.
Yeah, that inflection
or the hockey stick, same
yeah,
idea.
the hockey stick, yeah. That inflection point is such a it feels like it was overnight, but it's not. So if you go back to like where AI originates back in the 1950s with like the Alan Turing, and you ever watched The Imitation Game, which is a great movie.
The same thing when I saw it.
It's like Alan Turing's story.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Great movie, right?
But it's an amazing movie.
Yeah, so like. So he had that thing where he said, like if you could talk to the AI, or you could not perceive that it was actually a machine, it was so good, and that would be the definition of artificial intelligence. Some summary of that is obviously I'm paraphrasing, but and we pretty much have that today, right? I mean, you can work with a large language model, and unless you knew better, I mean, you could tell on the edges sometimes, but generally it sounds pretty darn human. And if you prompt it well enough, it's going to sound almost indistinguishable, and it's pretty amazing. And so we're pretty much at that level, but that wasn't an overnight thing by any stretch of the imagination. He first talked about this in the 50s, but there was periods like almost every advanced technology where it's like not much happened because it was so slow. So it's just, as you're going along that curve, you're just gaining momentum. And so it's the whole, the great, the compound effect, back to Einstein talked about compounding. Would you rather have $1 million or a penny, doubled every day for a month or whatever? And of course it's the penny, but humans can't think in that term, right? It's like really bad at exponentials. And that's a technology typically evolves, especially computer technology evolves on an exponential curve. And that's what it is. We just happen to hit the inflection point in this, towards the end of the last decade, and obviously earlier this decade. 2022 was a big one, when ChatGPT came out, but there was a lot of stuff happening even before then. I mean, we actually talked about AI, and we became the very first AI driven integration in our space in 2009, when we actually declared that and made that statement based on how we did things. And like the AI that we were doing then doesn't resemble what people think about AI today, but definitely still under the AI spectrum. So I think that's one of those things where the idea has been there's been lots of evolutions that, despite where everybody thinks about today as being like the large language models and ChatGPT and all of that.
Yeah, it's a good point. Is that AI has been around for many years, but because of the sudden rise of it now, and very specific type of AI, that generative AI, large language models, everyone thinks that every intelligence ties back to large language model. And that's not the case. Large language models are a type of AI. They're called the generative AI, but of course, not all AI is like that.
Oh yeah, totally, it's not, and it's just one of them. And I think the way I like to look at it is like it's just the one that acts the most like a human does,
right?
And I think a lot of people realize that they misuse it. It's like I think it's almost it's pretty much as reliable as a human is too. It can do things it can do things like a human person, like a human does, to solve certain problems that are fuzzy like a human does, but it's also inconsistent like a human.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of like the idea of the hallucinations, right? Where you get the AI making stuff up, or just like a human would. In fact, I saw a recent article or a recent thing. I'm not sure. I read so much and listening that is that OpenAI was saying that like the fact that that GPTs that they hallucinate actually is based upon the fact that humans bluff. That humans
Mm.
like, make and bluff and you know and make up things, and that's like the GPTs, the AIs, they're acting human. If they don't know, they don't, you know, like
Mhm.
we see it every day. I remember when I was
Oh,
a
yeah.
teacher, I see it and we see it with, you see it like, people don't want to say no, like, oh, or I don't know. You say, oh, well, I think it's, you know, it's this. You're like, that doesn't sound right at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's surprising that a machine taught to act like a human wouldn't be full of crap.
Yeah, right. Wouldn't lie and make stuff up. Yeah, it would.
Yeah, it would. I think that's the, like, if you really think about it, like, not to go on a tangent too much, but like a large language model is just basically like scaling a human. Like how I would describe it would be like on demand humanity,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or like simulate a human as best as possible, but you make it so I don't have to actually ask a person. It's just simulating human behavior based on all the language that is read. So it's just, I think it's really interesting because it definitely opens up a whole set of problems to be solved that typically were difficult for software deterministic programming to solve, right? They're very hard. I always call them these fuzzy problems,
Right.
problems of like, where you have to make some judgment or you're doing probabilities around it, which is basically how it works. It's all about probabilities and things like that. So, and it's predicting next token or next word or something like that. So it's a lot of it's very much simulates kind of, and that's why you could ask it the same question in two different chats and it'll give you exactly it'll give you different answers. Like, I mean, it'll be somewhat consistent, just like a human would be somewhat consistent, but it won't give you the same answer every time. Whereas like typical code would give you the same exact answer. It's deterministic. It's like, and you
Right.
actually prove that it does, right? You can actually prove with regular code that it actually gives you the same answer every time. And that's an interesting thing about this technology. But like I said, that's just one form of AI. But it's like the fact that it's able to do that, it's able to approximate what a human would do in the same situation at scale, that's that makes it really interesting. It's like I can solve problems that used to be human decisions at scale. And that opens up all kinds of possibilities. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I myself use almost everything I do uses AI in some way, right? I keep enriching what I'm doing, keep adding context, keep you know, expanding, such that like almost all my work these days is going into that. And so it's incredible how fast the AI has improved. And I think it's a big part in all the investment, right? Like over the last couple of years, 2-3 years, the amount of money that they pour into these things, right? Like OpenAI and XAI and Claude and all these other tools. I mean, Google, like just billions and billions, like hundreds of billions of dollars are going into this. So, you know, nothing like, if you want to increase a fire, nothing like adding gasoline right onto it.
Or, or a global pandemic, right?
Yeah.
That caused a lot of the acceleration of this stuff. I mean, we had, there's like a remote workforce and people are, people are, just try to become more efficient because there's just all of that drives into that, kind of feeds into that adoption, and it's pretty amazing. It's like, I mean, I think about like how different our work is today compared to 5 years ago, and then you think about applying that to an industry that doesn't move very fast, like manufacturing. But actually, you'll see, but they're actually in a great position to adopt it, right? There's so much potential there, and with who we serve as customers as manufacturing companies, it's going to be a little bit slower adoption curve because you actually have physical things you're making and things like that. You're not generating poetry, you're not generating a news article, you're not like, it's not digital. It's not as like it won't transform it as fast, but it starts getting really. I think robotics is going to be even the biggest thing. Robotics
Yeah.
is really going to shift manufacturing, but AI itself, because there's still a lot of data driven. Like, and that's the world that
Mhm.
we're in, right?
Mhm.
We're in the data behind, the digital thread behind the way the manufacturing works. A lot of that digital thread and the transfer of information across departments and stuff are going to be really, really augmented by AI. We're already doing it with what we do, but it's really going to change how those people work.
Office
Back
people.
office type of stuff, yeah. But like with the actual manufacturing floor, I think it's going to be robotics that's really going to change it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the sentiment I hear as well, is that you'll have the kind of computer-based digital. By digital, I mean like computer-based AI, right? Language models in our work will become more efficient. We'll be able to that back office work become even more efficient than it already is. But the physical labor as well, especially in manufacturing, will be augmented by robotics more and more. That's kind of the gist that I hear as well. I mean, we even see it with some of our partnerships not cater to, like part of their ICP is robotics companies, right? Companies that are building robotics, I mean, Boston Dynamics is just one of them, but these companies are building robotics or building maybe not the full robots, but building components, right? Hardware for the whole supply chain. So we get all parts of that. You see, like, start seeing companies pop up as customers that need integrations, right? They need that back office work, and they're building the infrastructure for these robots that will become either in our homes or in the manufacturing companies, warehouses. I mean, you already see it, of course, in warehousing. I'm sure at Walmart and Kroger and Amazon, those types of things. Yeah, I don't, and I know with our partners, they have incorporated AI into the some, ERPs will have AI in there and AI use cases around predictive maintenance, especially if you're getting signals from machine tools and things like that. But that's kind of what I see the early, right? Really geared towards use cases that customers may need. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. I kind of here now, right? Kind of twofold. Is one, as companies that are making these robots or making components for these robots, and that's on the kind of physical side, and then on the digital side or the more computer based or back office work side, I see especially in the ERPs and PLMs, use cases for data, or using large language models also to generate reports, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, be able to generate reports from the data that you already have.
Yeah, definitely. I think the AI for manufacturing companies, it's kind of a key takeaway would be like, I think we're both saying that too, is like that the AI, that the large language models, the generative AI, those, machine learning, all of those things are going to affect the back office first. You're going to see the back office change, which is so the digital kind of office that you see or around happened first around manufacturing companies. But then when the AI gets paired and put into a robot is when the shop floor starts getting affected. And that's going to be a really interesting time. And that combination is going to be, I think you're going to see lots of weird things like things that have happened in the past of like offshoring work or moving things to lower cost nations and stuff like that will be reversed.
Yeah, that'll go.
I think that'll happen because it'll be no longer, the cost of labor will go down. Like people, and there's also a theme that we're going to talk about is that like the people in this new world are more directors than they are doers.
Yeah,
because I'm quoting another person we follow. It's like when the doing is done, what's left to do is direct, and that's kind of the evolution I think of. Is that these companies will turn the people in the companies be more in directing the robots and the AI to do what they need to do in the organization.
Yeah, I think, like you said, manufacturing it'll have two revolutions, I think, right? The first, that the revolution in the sense, the digital transformation of how AI make reporting, improve data, but also leverage the data more easily to make better decisions, get more information more quickly, more accessible. Because sometimes, these large systems, ERPs, PLMs will have all the data, but making sense of that data gets really complex, right? Because you had queries and reports, and it takes almost like a developer to generate that, BI analyst. And now with that big data, you just ask the AI, like, basically it consumes all your data and goes, what should I, what, during these hours, and like it'll just know that, right? It'll just give you a chat right back to you what that example is.
Oh yeah, like when you start giving it context, real time context and stuff, it gets really interesting. But we definitely want to save some more for the next parts of the series. I think we could talk about this all day.
I think this is the first in our series of AI and AI manufacturing and AI. And I think the next episode coming up, Scott, is talent acquisitions. Like how do you use AI with your employees, right? Like finding new employees, upskilling them. So that's what we're going to focus on next episode. Thanks everybody for listening. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Look a link to our website. Check out the ROI calculator and if you're interested, go to CADTALK.com. get that ROI calculator of how, CAD Talk and AI and integration between your engineering and manufacturing systems can accelerate that digital transformation that's going to happen, that is happening right now for all companies, in terms of, getting to market faster. We're on that kind of early part of this digital transformation, this digital revolution, kind of another one in terms of, use of AI and getting that in there. Yeah, check us out and subscribe and look forward to those comments. Scott, we'll see you on the next episode.